wobbling ISU basketball club takes to the floor tonight, trying to bounce back from a disappointing home loss Thursday. Tonight, the Wichita State Shockers at Redbird Arena, where a victory for ISU can put ISU back in sole possession of first place. Hello again, everybody. Kurt Pegler and Matt Taphorn with you for ISU basketball here on WMBD. Matt, it doesn't happen often, but Thursday night the Redbirds lost a home Valley game for the first time in 13 Valley games.
That's right. It's only Kevin Stallings' second loss in the 3 years that he's been at Illinois State. So a big loss, and also puts him even with Bradley and Tulsa, who also have one loss, and those are considered the contenders for the championship.
Now, these two teams played a great game in Wichita a couple of weeks ago, but two big cogs in that game for Wichita are not in uniform tonight.
That's right. Jamie Arnold, the talented junior, led the conference in rebounding last year, has a little bit of a knee problem right now, didn't join the team on this trip, and also junior Terrence Flowers has been dismissed for the team indefinitely for disciplinary reasons.
So that means Darren Miller has to step up his game.
That's right. Darren Miller is the leading scorer for the Wichita State Shockers this year, a big player inside, had a few baskets for him in the early going of the game in Wichita, and he's going to be counted on heavily in this game.
And expect a shake-up for the Redbirds. Jamar Smiley, Rob Gibbons, and Kenny Wright in the ISU starting lineup.
Yeah, Kenny's been playing very well as of late. Scored 11 points in last two games for Illinois State, doing a good job on the boards, and has led Illinois State on the offensive boards all year long.
The Redbirds and the Wichita State Shockers. The Redbirds try to claim sole possession of first place with a victory tonight. We're back with the starting lineup. And welcome back to Redbird Arena tonight, where the 12-6 ISU Redbirds take on the 5-14 Wichita State Shockers. Kurt Pegler and Matt Taphorn back with you for Missouri Valley Conference basketball here in Normal as the Redbirds try and bounce back from a difficult loss to Swallow on Thursday night against Drake. The Redbirds have been in first place by themselves for a week, Matt, but perhaps they got a little too complacent because give Drake credit. They came in here. They were not intimidated by ISU's home winning record, and they walked away with a victory, something that no Valley team's been able to do in over a year.
I'll tell you, Illinois State may have been in a position that a lot of other people were blamed for, and that's taking Drake for granted. You know, they've played a lot of easy teams in the early going, but they're at 6-2, as you can see, tied with Illinois State and Bradley at 6-2. Evansville not far behind, as is Tulsa at 4-2, and then Southwest Missouri trailing the pack at 4-4. But Illinois State, as I was saying, comes into the Drake game with a 6-1 record in the Valley, figuring they got two home games. They go 8-1 halfway through the Valley season on the road to a potential championship. But you can't take any team lightly, especially at home. You got to get the business done.
And let's take a look at the Illinois State starting lineup for tonight. A little change in the lineup. Jamar Smiley starts in place of Steve Hansel. Maurice Trotter in the backcourt with him. Rob Gibbons gets the start in the middle for Leroy Watkins, and Kenny Wright and Dan Muller in the forecourt. Wright starting for Rico Hill. So Kevin Stallings trying to shock his lineup into some productivity. Meanwhile, speaking of the Shockers, Wichita State will start a starting five that really doesn't surprise us that much because it's the same five that we saw in Wichita a week and a half ago. Marvin Hill and Ziggy McKee in the backcourt. Darren Miller's the center, and Larry Callis and Ryan Hers start up front for the Wichita State Shockers, who are coached by Scott Thompson. He's 102 and 142 in 9 seasons of head coach at the college level. 37 of those 102 wins have come at Wichita State, where he is in his 4th season. He's 20 and 43 lifetime in the Valley. Kevin Stallings, on the other hand, 48 and 30 in 3 seasons at Illinois State, 31 and 13 in Valley games, an impressive 21 and 2 in Valley home games. As we mentioned, the second of those 2 losses coming Thursday night to Drake. Kevin Stallings is 4-1 lifetime against Wichita State. As far as the series is concerned, the Redbirds getting the best out of this. ISU leads the all-time series 20-13 in the 33 meetings. The Redbirds have won 5 of the last 6, including 4 straight games here at Redbird Arena. So ISU trying to go 5 for 5 in their last 5 home games against the Wichita State Shockers. Scott Thompson, as we mentioned in the beginning of the broadcast, has suspended indefinitely the junior guard from Chicago, Terrence Flowers. So he's out of the lineup, and Jamie Arnold, their talented junior center/forward, didn't even make the trip here to Normal because he will have some knee problems. In fact, he had his knee scoped earlier this week, and it's unlikely that he'll see some action the rest of the year. Tonight's officials, Jerry Siebert, Paul Castor, and John Higgins. Darren Miller to jump for Wichita State, Kenny Wright to jump for Illinois State, and the tap is controlled by Wichita State as it rolled off of Dan Muller's fingertips as Wichita State tried to back tap. Muller anticipated the back tap but couldn't come up with the steal.
I'll tell you, it was just out of Dan's reach. He did a good job anticipating the tip that time and got back, and just a little bit over his head that time. He could have gotten the basket pretty easy too.
So the Redbirds show a man-to-man. We are just underway here at Redbird Arena. Illinois State and Wichita State. And there's our first turnover as the ball's thrown away, and ISU gets possession.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that leads to a 5-14 record overall. Is you make some silly mistakes and turnovers like that just come back to haunt you.
No question, it's been a disappointing season in Wichita. The Shockers were expected to at least make some noise with some returning veteran players coming back, guys like Terrence Flowers and Darren Miller and Jamie Arnold, but it just hasn't been the case. Dan Muller's first shot of the night at 3 ball was no good. Rob Gibbons there for the rebound, but it was knocked out of his hands by Darren Miller. ISU retains possession.
Good job by Rob going after the shot. Dan Muller with that one-handed shot from the top of the key area, and Rob does a good job following up and trying to go after the rebound.
Muller again. This time he hits the 3, so he's 1 out of 2 from the floor, and the Redbirds on the 3-0 advantage.
That time Dan did a much better job of keeping that left hand on the ball as he was guiding the shot up. The first shot he took was more or less a one-handed shot, and it's hard to control your aim on a shot like that.
Here's Marvin Hill, the freshman. Missed the shot, tipped up no good. Kenny Wright the rebound. Marvin Hill, a former 3-time All-Stater in Texas, a high school star in the Lone Star State.
Hill really struggled in that game at Wichita against the Redbirds, and see if he can get it going tonight.
Low try to the miss. Rob Gibbons there for the rebound, but it's knocked out of his hands and controlled this time by Ryan Hurst. Gibbons had a crack at that rebound, but he had it knocked out of his hands. 3-0 Illinois State. We played a minute 15 here at Redbird Arena tonight. There's Darren Miller. He hits the floater. Nice turnaround jump shot for Darren Miller. He is the team's leading scorer. He and Marvin Hill have been going back and forth, exchanging the lead as far as the team leadership and scoring is concerned. Marvin Hill's at 10.2 points a game, and Miller's at 10.3, so just 1/10 of a point separating the two statistically. Wichita State in a man-to-man. Nice bounce pass from Smiley into Kenny Wright, but there's a foul on Larry Callis on the entry.
That was a good job by Jamar trying to get a better angle on the pass. He took a couple dribbles over to the wing. Kenny had Larry Callis pinned on his hip, and Jamar did a good job, as I said, bring it towards the corner a little bit and get a better angle. And you see the ball coming down into Kenny, who had good position on the block.
Smiley in the lob to Kenny Wright. That's one of Jamar Smiley's favorite plays. He saw Kenny Wright on the baseline, flipped it up, and Wright, who's getting a start tonight, makes the dunk. It's 5-2 Illinois State. We've got a foul this time on the reach in.
I tell you, that's a set play on the out of bounds by Illinois State that they ran, and that's something they'll run 3 or 4 times in a game on a lob situation. Teams know it, and it's still hard to stop.
Kevin Stallings is right now trying to get Jerry Sieberts here. He's saying that was just good side, weak side help defense there, and not necessarily foul. Now he should watch it. Jerry Sieberts, the guy who worked this game in Wichita a week and a half ago, and he teed up Scott Thompson early in the game.
That's right, and that was on a play that wasn't very vocal either by Thompson. So I don't think he's very short on his fuse out there on the floor.
1 out of 2 free throws for Larry Callis. It's 5-3 in favor of Illinois State. We've played just over 2 minutes now here in the first half. Here's Dan Muller. Missed the shot this time. Tipped out. Kenny Wright goes and gets.
Good hustle by Kenny. Came from the middle of the lane to out hustle McKee to get to the ball.
Mo Trotter on the low block. Missed the shot. And Callis the rebound. Larry Callis is leading the Missouri Valley Conference in rebounding and block shots. 8.3 boards, 1.1 block a game. Very active underneath. Skip pass clear, near side to hers. Drop down to Callis. Now out to Hill, who missed the shot. Gibbons got a hand on it, comes down with it.
Good job by Trotter rushing out at the ball as Hill had a good open look, and Trotter came out at the last moment to bother the shot.
Mo Trotter, fadeaway jumper, at the bottom of the net that time.
That's a good sign after he struggled on Thursday night against Drake.
His first 2 points of the night. Illinois State with a 4-point advantage, 7-3. Leroy Watkins and Rico Hill check in at the scorer's table, so they'll be entering the game with the next dead ball. They are 2 guys who've been accustomed to starting but didn't get the starting nod tonight. There's Miller with the fadeaway.
I tell you, Miller's got a nice soft shot inside. He's shooting it in amongst some tall trees. Isn't really that good of a jumper, but just gets it up in the air and drops it down. Nice little soft touch on the ball.
Darren Miller is one of those guys that just does not look like a scorer out there, but he finds a way to get the ball in the hole.
He had 28 in the game earlier this year in their own tournament they had in Wichita, and very capable of knocking it down.
Jamar Smiley hits his first shot of the night from the right baseline. Back to a 4-point Redbird lead, 9-5.
Tough shot that time by Jamar, knocking that down against a former opponent in high school, and Ziggy McKee, both from the New York area.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see their matchup all night long. 2 former New York prep stars. Miller again.
I tell you, ISU does a good job of doubling team down when the player gets the ball on the block, and they're just getting down there a little too slow to catch Miller. He's doing a good job of moving immediately once he gets the ball.
Shockers close to within 2. Now Mo Trotter tries to answer. His shot is short. On the floor, Rob Gibbons, right place, right time. Thank you very much.
Boy, nobody went after that ball. It just kind of fell right at Rob's feet, and he turned, and nobody really contested the shot either.
Steve Hansel and Kyle Cartmill also at the scorer's table. Here's Larry Callis. He's got that unorthodox one-handed turnaround shot. He didn't even draw iron on that one.
I tell you, he usually knocks that shot down, too. He hit a couple of those at Wichita in the game we had earlier this year.
Speaking of air ball, one good air ball deserves another. Kenny Wright missed from in close. We've played 4.5 minutes. It's 11-7 in favor of Illinois State.
That time, Kenny tried to go up strong with the ball, and really nobody contested the shot, and he just kind of muscled it up there, and he came up short.
Here's Miller. Now Ryan Hers for 3, and he hits the jumper. He will hit that if he's left open. He hits his first basket of the night, a three-pointer. It's 11-10 Redbirds.
Hasn't really hit it at a regular clip this year, only 30% from three-point range, but I remember him from last year. He's a very capable shooter from that area, and you can see he knocked that down with no trouble there.
He's only about a dozen three-pointers away from the all-time school mark, which isn't much. Wichita State's really never had a three-point threat before, but he might go into the record book as the all-time leading three-ball man. Maurice Trotter hit that fadeaway jumper, but it's going to be a foul before the basket, according to Paul Castor.
That's one thing that Mo does a good job of, recognizing he's got his defense around his hip and just takes it right at him.
Officials timeout. 14:38 to play first half. The Redbirds with a 1-point lead for the Redbirds here against Wichita State. Darren Miller doing some damage early, man.
Yeah, a player we featured before the game has 6 early points for Wichita out of their 10. And as we can see on the replay, Illinois State just not getting over to him quick enough to double team on the block, and he does a good job of getting free and has that nice little soft shot inside, and able to knock down 3 out of 3 in the early going.
All right, both teams substituting. In fact, the Redbirds have a fresh 5 in. Kenny Pearson to trigger, Leroy Watkins, Rico Hill, Steve Hansel, and Kyle Cartmill. A completely new 5 in the ball game for the Redbirds. Meanwhile, Wichita State has 2 new players in the ball game. Number 5 is Carter Arnett. He's a sophomore forward. He's in the ball game for the first time, as is John Clyden, a freshman forward who's from Oak Park, Illinois, so a little bit of a homecoming for Clyden.
Clyden played very well as a freshman in that game at Wichita earlier this year.
We've played 5.5 minutes. The Redbirds with an 11-10 lead. Here's Hansel now. 17 on the shot clock. Cartmill with a free. And a nice pass to Kenny Pearson. Look at that, rejected out of there by Larry Callis. We told you of his leaping ability. He leads the Valley in block shots, 1.1 a game. Now back down the other end of the floor. It's Carter Arnett, the hoop, and the foul.
I tell you, ISU unfortunate in that last block down at the other end. They had both Rico Hill and Leroy Watkins going after the ball. Neither one of them came up with it. Wichita goes the other way, and Carter Arnett just beats him down the floor. Able to draw contact against Hill going up and knock it down. Go to the line to try to complete the three-point play.
6'8" sophomore from Olathe, Kansas. Completes the three-point basket, three-point play, and it's the first lead of the game for the Shockers. 13-11 as we played 6 minutes here in the opening half. The Redbirds and the Wichita State Shockers from Redbird Arena tonight. Rico Hill. Callis again with another block, his second of the night. Back come the Shockers in transition. Arnett's pass was almost picked off by Watkins that time, but Wichita State's going to get it out of bounds right in front of Kevin Stallings.
Good job by Leroy Watkins that time in trailing the play, just staying after it and coming up with his hands on the ball against Ziggy McKee, trying to get down the lane in the transition.
Cartmill's the one who's going to have to guard Ziggy McKee now in this set. There's the entry pass again. Clyde, nice fake, but that time he had a shot swatted out of there. Both Steve Hansel and Leroy Watkins, Johnny on the spot to get their hands on the ball. Redbirds with a chance now to shoot from the top.
Did a good job of getting Kenneth Pearson up off his feet that time, but just didn't get into his body, tried to draw the foul.
Hansel and Marvin Hill going at it. Now Rico Hill from the top of the circle, missed a shot. Long rebound out, and Kenny Pearson out-wrestled it from McKee, but they're going to call a jump ball and an alternate possession. The Redbirds have it.
Good job by Kenneth to try to get his hands on the ball. That time Rico got the ball in good position, He had Arnett flying out at him to volley the shot, and I think that just threw him off just a tad bit. He's got the range. He can hit that shot out there.
And Kenny Pearson leaves the game in favor of Dan Muller now, who has re-entered, and Jamar Smiley's going to come back in too, and he'll replace Steve Hansel.
He replaces Steve Hansel.
And Cartmill to trigger now. Lob down low. Leroy Watkins lost the ball out of bounds.
That was kind of an in-between pass that time. It wasn't really a lob, and it wasn't a straight pass. And Leroy really kind of anticipated the lob that time, just not able to get his hands on it.
Darren Miller back in the game, replacing Larry Callis. Miller, Clyden, Greg Bryant, who's a freshman forward, is now in the ballgame with Carter Arnett. And Melvin McKee, who has the basketball for the Shockers, and his pass is picked off by Leroy Watkins. Good hands that time by Leroy.
That was a good job. Stayed away from Miller's body that time as Miller tried to get into him on the block, and did a good job of getting around and stealing the ball.
Kyle Cartmill, the entry pass to Watkins, knocked out of his hands by Clyden. Muller looked at the three, but decided to go back out top. 15 on the shot clock. Rico Hill had his foot on the line, missed the jumper. Dan Muller the rebound, and he laid it in.
Good little up fake there by Dan to kind of free himself up and kind of hesitate Carter Arnett that time as he was trying to go up for the block.
Muller with 5 points, 13-13 ball game. Here's McKee's first shot of the night. No good. Rattled in and out of the rim. Long rebound comes out to Kyle Cartmill. 2-on-2. No advantage here. Cartmill almost had the ball knocked out of his hands, but Smiley picks up the loose change. Nice pass to Rico Hill. Offensive foul, though. No basket.
That time Miller stepped in just as Hill was going into the basket, and they met at the same time, and Rico Hill had the momentum going, and you see Miller step up and just fall backwards, and the ball goes down, but it's not going to be counted as a player control foul.
And now Rico Hill leaves the ball game, and Kenny Wright enters. So it's Kyle Cartmill, Jamar Smiley, Kenny Wright, Dan Muller, and Leroy Watkins, the 5 on the floor for Illinois State. John Clyden, Darren Miller, Greg Bryant, Carter Arnett, Ziggy McKee, the 5 on the floor for the Shockers. We've played 8 minutes of basketball. We're tied at 13. Here's Miller. Now to Clyden. Worked his way inside and laid it off the glass.
Good look that time by Miller to hit Clyden cutting down the lane. You know, Miller has gone up for 3 shots. The first 3 times he touched the ball. That time a nice little pass dumping out to Clyden.
2-point lead for the Shockers. Kyle Cartmill scoots it down and a nice pass to Kenny Wright.
Good look by Kyle that time. He made Wichita think he was going to go up with the shot as he drew the ball up and just dumped it down to Kenny for the nice wide open layup.
So Kyle trying to make the most of his playing time here early. We're tied at 15. Redbirds still in that man-to-man defense.
Wichita doing a good job moving the ball around, not letting the Redbirds get set defensively.
Yeah, Darren Miller called for the traveling violation.
Just a little hop as the ball is coming in.
11:07 to play first half. We're tied. Wichita State 15, Illinois State 15. Redbird Arena. The normal starters, if you will. Both he and Mo Trotter surviving the pillage, if you will, that Kevin Stallings had in the opening minutes.
Yeah, Dan's been a steady player as of late. He's been their top defender against every team. He draws the toughest assignment, does a great job on the boards.
And he's back in the ballgame. He leads the Redbirds with 5 points right now. Mo Trotter's back in as well. Trotter, Smiley, Muller, Leroy Watkins, and Kenny Wright, the 5 on the floor for the Redbirds. Boy, Smiley
got away with the travel there.
Like he did. And what happens? He hits Mo Trotter, who then sticks a jumper in.
That's a tough assist that time by Jamar Smiley, but stayed with it and stayed after the ball. Nobody else hit the floor.
In fact, it was a 3-ball. 18-15 now in favor of Illinois State. Marvin Hill missed the shot, but Miller gets the rebound, and that's Matt Schultz now running the show out top. Entry pass to Miller. Turnaround jumper, front of the iron, rolled it again.
Once again, that soft touch. The ball rolls around up there on the rim and drops it down. He's just doing a good job down against the Redbirds on the defensive end.
He's made all 4 of his shots. Darren Miller has 8 points, and it's a 1-point Redbird lead at 18-17. That's a nice move by Jamar Smiley. Missed his shot, but gets his rebound and then gets fouled.
Good hard drive that time by Jamar. He went up strong with the ball and anticipated somebody going up with him, and really nobody was there. And a little strong at the rim and fell a little short. You see Jamar gather himself, go up strong. Nobody challenges the shot, just threw it up a little hard against the rim, came back down with the rebound. You see Schultz reach in and draw the foul.
So Maurice Trotter to trigger into the basket. Entry pass to Leroy Watkins, and there's another reach in. This time, Darren Miller, the culprit. Scott Thompson is walking all the way up to the scorer's table. He's following Ballcaster up to give his beef.
Wichita State foul number
At least it's not
49.
Jerry Siebert who teed him up last time, but Thompson's a little frustrated. He's had a disappointing season to this point. Bigger things were expected out of this team, just hasn't transpired this year.
I'll agree with you there. Under 10 minutes to play now. It is 18-17 Illinois State, who's just past the 10-minute mark. Maurice Trotter had the ball knocked out of his hands by Marvin Hill. 23 seconds on the shot clock. And now there's going to be a substitution here. 0-0. Chad Williams comes to the ball.
Watch Hill just reach across both arms, and the official was kind of blinded. Both officials were blinded on that angle. They couldn't see it, and they claimed that he had gotten all ball, but he got him right across both arms, and Mo didn't really say anything, just kept playing.
Kenny Wright in the midst of a double team now finds Smiley. 15 on the shot clock. Mo Trotter on the baseline. He's double teamed momentarily. 10 on the clock now to shoot. 6 to shoot. Muller traveled. ISU disorganized on that offensive possession. Had it really
Yeah, I
shot.
tell you, Wichita did a good job stepping in on every play. When Mo got the ball and when Dan got the ball, both they had people helping out, stepping in, and just weren't able to get on track swinging the ball around offensively. You see Dan going in the middle. The defense kind of overshifts, and Dan's kind of left without his feet beneath him.
Here's Hill on the other end. Missed the shot. Leroy Watkins in to get the rebound knocked off his hands and out of bounds. Mo Trotter tried to save it but couldn't get there in time.
Well, there's been a lot of balls coming off the defensive boards that Illinois State just hasn't come up with. Wichita's doing a good job of trying to track it down, and that time nobody really came up with it. Mo was caught on the baseline.
Watkins out, Gibbons in. ISU double teams Matt Schultz. He almost was caught there. Arnett, the runner, he missed it, and he's going to be over the back on the reach in off the rebound.
Yeah, it's a typical foul you'll see in that situation. Player coming down the lane, missing the shot and going up in frustration. Pick up the foul, and Rob does a good job of screening his man off first and then going up strong after the ball. He's able to draw the foul that time against Carter Arnett.
Larry Callis comes into the ball game, as does James Bunch for the Shockers. Carter Arnett out of the game. Now for Wichita State. Matt Schultz, Marvin Hill, Larry Callis, James Bunch, and Chad Williams, the 5 on the floor now for Wichita State. Looks like they're going to play a little bit of a zone here. No, maybe not. It looked like they were going to show a 1-3-1 or something. They're not guarding Gibbons out top, we'll tell you that much. Larry Callis playing way off Rob Gibbons. Dan Muller behind the screen from Kenny Wright. Missed the 3. Front of the iron, no good. Up high to get the rebound is Callis.
Good box out there by Callis. Had 26 rebounds in the game earlier this year, so you can see why he does such a good job on the boards. 2
weeks ago tonight against the Drake Bulldogs, he had 26 rebounds, and that is the best rebounding performance out of any Missouri Valley Conference player this season. 8.5 minutes to play first half. The Redbirds with a 1-point advantage, 18-17. Chad Williams from the free throw line. Missed the shot but drew the foul.
Well, that time Trotter just barely got him on the arm as he was going up for the shot. And that's a shot that you want Williams taking, and Mo that time a little aggressive trying to get after the ball. Callis does a good job knocking it out as he's double teamed, but Mo just a little too aggressive going after Williams.
For Wichita State.
So Chad Williams to the free throw line, 6'6" junior forward. We did not see him play in the game in Wichita. But getting some playing time, and as we said, Scott Thompson is going to have to use perhaps every player on his bench because he's got 2 guys not in uniform. 2 guys who played against Illinois State just 10 days ago. Terrence Flowers, who's serving an indefinite suspension. He's gone for the rest of the year. Might come back next year. Jamie Arnold's out with a knee injury. And Williams misses both free throws, and ISU with a chance to build upon its 1-point advantage. Kenny Wright in trouble. He flipped it out to Rob Gibbons, who laid it in.
Good job by Kenny that time to draw the defender guarding Rob, dump it off to him in the position where Rob can knock it down.
20-17. Redbirds with a 3-point lead. We're under 8 minutes to play here in the first half. Redbirds showing some zone defense now. Here's Bunch, and he walked. So another turnover. And ISU will get the ball when we come back. 7:45 to play first half. Illinois State 20, Wichita State 17.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, timeout.
A bit of a sluggish start for both teams. Illinois State with a 20-17 advantage, but here's a nice play. Kenny Wright to Rob Gibbons.
I tell you, everybody did a good job this time down the floor. You get good passing angles from Jamar Smiley to dump down into Kenny Wright, and Kenny does a good job drawing the defenders over to get an open pass to Rob. So just a good team effort that time on the offensive end.
The Shockers shooting 47% from the floor here in the early going. Both teams have turned the ball over 4 times. 7.5 minutes to play first half. 20-17 Illinois State, and Mo Trotter missed the shot, an air ball, in fact. Didn't even draw iron on it.
I tell you, that time he thought that Marvin Hill would be right on him as he came off that screen, and Hill was trilling it a little bit as Kenny Wright and Dan Muller both got a piece of him.
Well, take a picture of that. I'm not sure I've ever seen a Mo Trotter air ball. You don't see many of those. Here's Ziggy McKee now. He finds Marvin Hill. Nice move to the baseline, missed the shot. Bunch had the ball in his hand, knocked out of his hands. Chad Williams drew the foul.
And once again, loose ball underneath. Wichita doing a good job going after it, coming up with the rebound, and Williams does a good job getting his hands on it and going up strong. You see Hill going in strong, just coming up a little short that time on the shot. Wichita goes back up with it after they get the loose ball, and Williams goes up strong, just comes up short as Kenny Wright gets him on the arm.
Antonio Cooper has now checked into the ballgame for Illinois State, replacing Mo Trotter, and Chad Williams back to the free throw line where he just missed 2 the last time, now 3 in a row.
Yeah, Williams has only been to the line 6 times so far this year. Is 1 out of 6, so make that 1 out of 9, 2 out of 10 this year for Chad Williams.
Hasn't seen much playing time, but might get some minutes tonight. 20-18 Illinois State with the lead as we hit the 7-minute mark now. 7 minutes left, first half. Ryan Hurst has gone to the scorer's table. He'll enter for Wichita State on the next dead ball. Antonio Cooper had 16 points in Thursday night's loss to the Drake Bulldogs. 16 points off the bench, which tied his career high. Here's his first shot of the night. Missed the 3. Bunch the rebound. Knocked out of his hands. Loose ball on the floor. Kenny Wright had the shot rejected by Bunch, but it's goaltending.
I tell you, Cooper really didn't have his feet set that time. He actually had his right foot behind his left foot. And when you're a right-handed shooter, you really want that right foot in front of you to get a better lift on your shot. ISU does a good job coming up with a loose ball, as we've been talking about how Wichita has been doing on their end. And Kenny Wright does a good job getting it going up quick and gets the 2 off the goaltend.
So the Redbirds with a 4-point lead now, 22-18. That matches Illinois State's largest lead of the game. Marvin Hill missed the short shot off the glass. He is struggling a bit from the floor.
0 for 6. He's picking up right where he left off in the game at Wichita. Didn't shoot very well there either.
Now the Redbirds with a chance now to increase the lead to 6, perhaps 7 with a 3. Here's Dan Muller. Missed the shot. Bunch the rebound over Leroy Watkins. Back comes Ziggy McKee now. 6-minute mark. 6 minutes to play first half. 22-18. Redbirds with a 4-point lead over Wichita State.
Dan's been living around that 3-point line here in this first half. 1 out of 5, 2 for 6 overall.
Pass to Larry Callis was tipped away by Jamar Smiley. And so Wichita State will have possession of the ball out of bounds. Darren Miller now in the game. He replaces Bunch. And Kenny Pearson to the scorer's table. He'll enter the game. And he's going to replace Kenny Wright, who gets a nice smattering of applause from the fans here. 5:50 to play first half. 22-18 Illinois State. McKee. Down low to Ryan Hurst. Half hook, missed the shot. Nice box out by the Redbirds. Muller the rebound. Back comes Illinois State in transition now. Jamar Smiley tried to get around McKee, and he drew a blocking foul on McKee.
Good job by Jamar trying to instigate the pressure that time by McKee and drawing the foul, and really wanted to push the ball on the break that time, and it felt like we had the opportunity. And you see McKee reaching in and trying to hold him off with his arms, and that's what the official saw and called the hand check foul.
2 of the quicker guards in the Missouri Valley Conference going at each other tonight, with Jamar Smiley and Melvin McKee, nicknamed Ziggy. Here's Kenny Pearson, left open for a minute there, but he lost control of the ball.
Well, he had a shot the first time he touched the ball. Just thought the defender would be coming out at him a little quicker.
15 on the shot clock now. Redbirds with the ball in a 4-point lead. 10 on the clock now. Nice drop down pass to Watkins. He missed the shot, but he's going to get it back, and he had it knocked out of his hands into the corner and saved nicely by Wichita State. Nice play that time by Hill.
Boy, Leroy was wide open, too.
Yeah.
He didn't have anything between him and the basket. All he needed was one dribble, and he could have dunked the ball.
Leroy's struggling a bit offensively. I think more people figured he'd be a bigger impact on the offensive side. He's still trying to cut his teeth on the offense.
Foul 6 against Illinois State. Out of bounds, Wichita State.
See Hill driving to the basket underneath, and Jamar just kind of gets him on the arm going to the baseline.
There's an outside jumper from Ryan Herbs.
His second three-pointer of the game.
And now it's a one-point game, 22-21 in favor of the Redbirds as we approach the 4.5-minute mark of the first half. Antonio Cooper hits his first shot of the night. Of course, it is a 3-ball where he lives, out on the arch, back to a 4-point ISU lead.
Well, I'll tell you, Scott Thompson can't be too happy about that. He had more than enough time to set up that time for the three-point shot.
Larry Callis drew the foul as he faked a couple of times and got a couple of Redbirds in the air. See who they call the foul on.
Wichita State does a good job down the blocks. Both Darren Miller and Larry Callis have some good moves underneath. Callis going down, gets Watkins to leave his feet and goes up into him to draw the foul.
Leroy Watkins whistled for his first foul tonight. 17 fouls now in the Redbirds. And Larry Callis to the free throw line where he is a 63% free throw shooter. Big 6'7" senior forward, Bay City, Texas, his hometown.
Boy, it's really amazing to realize how he's a 67% free throw shooter. The way he releases that ball with such a high arch.
He's so good around the basket with his leaping ability and his rebounding ability, shot blocking prowess that he has. But you're right, you get him away from the basket, he's not much of a weapon. So he makes 1 out of 2 free throws. 25-22, the Redbird lead is 3. Four-minute mark now, first half. Jamar Smiley left open from the free throw line. He missed the shot. Pearson was going to go up and get it, but he realized he would have drawn a foul over Carter Arnett's back. Arnett with the rebound, and now Wichita State with a chance to close it within 1.
Birds really haven't had a lot going inside for him here tonight. Most of their shots have been coming from the perimeter. They're 3 out of 9 so far from three-point range compared to 2 out of 2 for Wichita.
Arnett looked for the drop-down pass. Kenny Pearson got a hand on it. And it looks like the foul is going to be called on whom?
I believe it was Arnett.
Yeah.
As Cooper went after the ball, Arnett ran into him to stop the break, and it probably was a smart foul that time by Arnett, as Illinois State would have had a 2-on-1 advantage going the other way.
Initially, the official, John Higgins, appeared to be pointing in the direction of Kenny Pearson. But instead, it's Illinois State to the free throw line. Antonio Cooper. It's like a layup for him. He shoots so well from three-point range. He's now 13 out of 13 from the free throw line for the season.
That's right. Kevin Stallings has referred to Coop as one of the most pure shooters he's ever had the pleasure of coaching.
Yeah, he talks about the guy he scores from everywhere as far as shooting is concerned. Outside, in the cold, inside. Tells a great story about him going to the Rosemont Horizon last year when ISU played DePaul. Cold night, rolled right off the bus and hit his first 3 three-pointers in practice. Redbirds with a 5-point lead with their biggest lead of the game, 5 points. It's 27-22. And the Redbirds showing some backcourt pressure now.
Tell you, this is a game that Illinois State needs to put a team away in this situation, not let them get any confidence going back.
John Clyden, offensive foul.
A little out of control that time by the freshman. A good defensive play by Steve Hansel to get in underneath him and draw the charge. You see Clyden beats Leroy Watkins going back, but Steve Hansel is waiting right there for him in the middle of the lane to draw the charge.
Shockers thought that they had broken that press and were going in for a layup. Not the case. Redbirds now with a chance to increase the lead. Leroy Watkins around Carter Arnett, lost the dribble, now kicks out to Cooper, who drives in and then returns the pass to Watkins. Nicely done by Antonio Cooper, who drew the defender and dropped the ball down low. 3 minutes to play first half. Redbirds with a 7-point lead, the biggest of the night.
Coop was in a little unfamiliar territory that time after going inside the three-point line for a change, and did a great job at dumping the ball down into Leroy for the lay-in.
Shockers trying to get something going now. 10 seconds on the shot clock as McKee comes back out top to reload it. the offense. He goes right around Cooper, drew the defender in and laid it in. Nicely done as he flipped the ball up. No tip. It looked initially like that ball may have been tipped in.
The bowler's a little slow getting up, too. I think he got knocked in the head that time. He's seeing little butterflies right now.
Fans thought that maybe Larry Callis was the one who, there's a traveling violation on Darren Miller. Fans had thought that Larry Callis was the Wichita State shocker who had tipped the ball in the cylinder, but he did not. They credit the basket to McKee. It's a 5-point Redbird lead.
You see a drive here by Dan. Kind of moves both feet before he gets the ball and can establish a pivot foot, and the official was right on top of the play and made the call.
Rob Gibbons is at the scorer's table. He will come in more than likely for Leroy Watkins as we get close to the 2-minute mark now left in the first half. Wichita State trying to cut into a 5-point Illinois State lead. On the shot clock again. McKee likes this matchup with Antonio Cooper. He's the quicker of the two guards, and he misses the fadeaway. In the corner now, Steve Hansel goes and gets. Under 2 minutes to play, the Redbirds trying to improve on a 5-point advantage.
Cooper probably not as good of a defender as Jamar Smiley is, and McKee recognizing that is trying to take advantage of it.
But Coop can shoot the three. He missed it that time, but Muller got a hand on it and Trotter tracked it down.
That's right. A good job by Dan to get his hand on the ball, keep it alive for the Redbirds, and Trotter came up with it.
Muller drives and drew the foul on Carter Arnett.
Now Arnett that time trailed the play, and Dan did a good job freezing him for a moment, getting him up on his heels that time as he gets a little shot fake in the corner. You see a little nice shot fake by Dan, and Arnett's trailing as he's trying to get in the lane to get an open shot and fouls him from behind.
And Arnett leaves the ball game in favor of John Clyden. Clyden, Darren Miller, Larry Callis, Marvin Hill, and Melvin McKee, the 5 on the floor for Wichita State. As Dan Muller goes to the free throw line for one of the bonus, he makes the free throw. It's Muller, Hansel, Antonio Cooper, Rob Gibbons, and Maurice Trotter. But that's going to change here as Jamar Smiley comes in for Antonio Cooper, who gets a nice round of applause. Dan Muller is an 82% free thrower coming into the ballgame. 6'6" forward, sophomore from Lafayette, Indiana.
He's a well-rounded player. Kevin Stallings just loves having a guy like this in his program. Can do it all, play defense, shoot the three, take it to the hoop, rebounds well, and nice little stroke from the free throw line.
He's leading the Redbird attack with 7 points tonight. 31-24, a 7-point lead for the Redbirds. And again, the pressure in the backcourt. And it's going to create a turnover. 4 on 2 if the Redbirds hurry. Hansel to Mo, Trotter for 3.
That time Scott Thompson tried to guard Trotter from the sideline. He wanted to bother his shot, and he threw up his arms and tried to get Trotter a little flustered there in the corner, but Mo does a good job from the Hansel pass, just knocking it down.
Thompson calling for a 20-second timeout. He wanted to, you're right, he was out there jumping, trying to get the attention of his players to call a timeout. Boy, he was frustrated in that last segment as the Redbird full court press came up with a turnover, and Steve Hansel smartly spotted a wide open Maurice Trotter for a 3. When you got the numbers, you may as well put the 3-ball up, right?
That's right. He sees Steve after he comes up with the loose ball at the other end, knows that Trotter's setting up from the corner and does a good job drawing the defense into the lane so Mo can knock down the 3. Good job by Illinois State on the trapping defense of getting Clyden to dribble into a trap and go out of control. He still had about 4 seconds left on the clock before he came into a 10-second violation, so I think the freshman got a little flustered in that situation, caused the turnover.
Coming up at halftime, we'll have a discussion with the ISU president, Dr. David Strand. We'll also have a WMED News update along with some of our halftime stats and highlights. Ziggy McKee all the way down. He was uncontested and he hit the jumper in the lane. We're under a minute now to play here in the first half. Under 50 seconds and counting now. It's a 34-26 Redbird lead.
That time Wichita State got the ball in the hands of the man they needed to control the offense, and he took advantage of it going right at the tooth of the defense.
Dan Muller. Left open, hit the jumper.
Good movement that time by Illinois State on the offensive end. They had screen opportunities on both sides, and Dan came off and was open for the shot.
He's got 9 points. He's the game's leading scorer. There's Marvin Hill from the corner. His first basket of the night. His first 2 points. And it's 36-26, and Kevin Stallings now calls his 22nd timeout with 18.4 left on the game clock.
That was finally Marvin Hill's first good look at the basket, and he's 1 out of 7 in the game here so far. And you can see he's got an open shot, nice little rotation on the ball, and finally knocks one down.
36-28. 8-point ISU advantage.
See on the other end, Dan comes off the screen very well, gets himself squared to the basket and goes up nice and smooth and knocks down the 15-foot jumper.
If you're interested, 18.4 seconds left in the first half. The Redbirds will hold for one here, 36-28. Illinois State with an 8-point lead here in the first half. 10 seconds now. You see the clock on the corner. Smiley dropped down and Rob Gibbons wasn't looking. And so now Wichita State might get one last team in. Half court from McKee, almost went in as he hit the backboard. Didn't go home. We're at halftime. Illinois State enjoys an 8-point lead, 36-28. Halftime at Redbird Arena, where Illinois State enjoys a 36-28 lead over the Wichita State Shockers, as Illinois State is trying to bounce back from that disappointing loss on Thursday night at Redbird Arena. Kurt Pegler, Matt Taphorn with you here on WMBD. The Redbirds are shooting 43% from the floor, Matt, or 44 I should say, but 48% from the floor. Wichita State, not many teams can shoot that high of a percentage against ISU, and that's why they're hanging in this ballgame.
That's right. They've done a good job of knocking down some shots inside, getting the ball into Darren Miller, who leads them with 8 points in the first half. And, you know, Illinois State doing a fairly good job on the perimeter defensively, but inside they need to do a better job. Here you see Coop go inside. The three-point line is a rarity for him. Nice little pass dump down to Leroy Watkins. A good play by Illinois State in the first half. And they've done a good job of getting the ball inside when they've had to, and Leroy Watkins and Kenny Wright have both done a good job inside.
Initially, the Redbirds had struggled shooting from the perimeter, and they needed inside play like that to score because off the bat, the ISU Redbirds were not shooting very well from probably 15 feet and out.
No, they really kind of started out a little sluggish, and against a team like Wichita State, who really has nothing to lose in a situation like this, they're going to be a team that's battling for that 8th spot in the Valley Tournament, and Illinois State is trying to battle for a championship. So it's kind of two teams going in two different directions here in this game.
You like the philosophy of Kevin Stallings, shaking up the starting lineup, putting Jamar Smiley and Kenny Wright, Rob Gibbons in there to start the ball game?
Yeah, I think the guys out there realize it really doesn't matter who starts, it's really who finishes the game, but he's doing it for a purpose. He wants to try to get Rico Hill and Leroy Watkins more involved in the action out there, and you know, neither one of them have had good games here recently, but you know, everybody's going to contribute in the wins Illinois State gets this year. So even those guys are coming off the bench are going to have to contribute.
Darren Miller with 8 points for the Shockers. Maurice Trotter with 8, and Dan Muller with 9 points for Illinois State, the two leading scorers. In fact, here's Maurice Trotter off the turnover hitting a 3.
Yeah, again, a good job by Steve Hansel, one of the point guards that Illinois State has, and this offense does a good job of coming down the lane and drawing the defense in and hitting Mo Trotter out in the corner. Mo goes up. You can see Scott Thompson behind him trying to bother the shot, but just on the wrong side of the offensive player that time, and Trotter does a good job of knocking it down.
Hard to play defense from the sideline. 36-28 ISU with Arena. Illinois State enjoys a 36-28 lead over the visiting Wichita State Shockers. Kurt Pegler back with you here at Redbird Arena, and it's our pleasure to welcome to our microphones Dr. David Strand, who's the president here at Illinois State. 18 years he's been on campus. But you've been the president now since, what, August the 15th. How have things gone in the 5.5, 6 months that you've been the president?
Extremely well. I've been very grateful for the outpouring of support that there's been for my leadership and for the university in general. The campus has pulled together a tremendous teamwork on the part of the faculty and staff. We're making a great deal of progress in a number of important agenda items for the university.
Yeah, I was going to say, you really don't need any welcome because you're so familiar here.
Right.
You've been here for almost 2 decades. What do you think is the key to attracting students to Illinois State University?
Well, I think there are a number of factors. One is that we have an outstanding undergraduate program. The quality of that program, the fact that our faculty members are very much interested in the students, and even though we have 20,000 students, we still have a small college environment in terms of what we can provide the students. Number of activities, very hospitable environment on the campus and in the community.
You have a unique scenario as president because as of the first of this year, for the first time, you have your own governing board, right, because of the state legislator?
That's correct. Legislation was passed to move us out from under the Board of Regents and have a separate governing board. We're tremendously pleased with the quality of the people who were appointed by the governor to be our trustees. They are working together well with us, and we're off to a great start. We think that that will allow us to have a great deal more influence in Springfield with state government, and we'll have a group of people who can be spokespeople for Illinois State University, and their loyalty will be with a single institution.
What's on the horizon, Dr. Strand, for Illinois State University? What changes, if any, would you like to implement as president?
Well, we are right now working to complete a $30 million science building on campus. That's commanding a lot of time and attention because there are capital budget and bonding authority complications in General Assembly for all of state government. But the completion of the science building is one of the very important factors. We have to be cognizant of the changes that are taking place in Washington, monitor those, and make sure that there is as much support for education, especially financial aid for students, as possible. Then we're working with the Board of Higher Education to make sure that our program priorities are addressed and we have adequate funding for that.
Dr. Strand, thanks for coming over. We appreciate your time at halftime tonight.
My pleasure, Kurt.
36-28. The Redbirds with a 8-point lead over the Wichita State Shockers. We'll run down those halftime statistics for you when we come back. Redbird are ready to start here the second half, Matt.
And neither team really setting a blazing trail on the field goal percentage. Wichita State at 44% compared to Illinois State at 48%. Both teams hitting 4 free throws. It took Illinois State 4 to hit those, but Wichita State 9. So you see the disparity in the percentages. Illinois State getting more attempts from the three-point range, knocking down 4 out of 11. Doing a good job on the boards with a 20-11 advantage. Both teams with 7 turnovers, but the key there is Illinois State has 15 points off of those 7 turnovers compared to Wichita State's 2. See the leading scorers here in the first half. Darren Miller, 4 out of 4 from the field with 8 points. We talked about his soft touch inside. Ryan Hurst, 6 points, 2 out of 2 from three-point range. For Illinois State, Dan Muller doing a good job, well-rounded player with 9 points, and Maurice Trotter with 8. Hits that big three towards the end of the first half to get his 8 points in the first half.
D. Miller leads Wichita State. D. Muller leading Illinois State. 36-28 our halftime score. Scott Thompson's team trailing by 8 points. Ryan Hurst, Larry Callis, Ziggy McKee, Darren Miller to start the game, along with Marvin Hill for Wichita State. Jamar Smiley, Kenny Wright, Maurice Trotter, Rob Gibbons, and Dan Muller, the starting 5 for the ISU Redbirds. We're underway here in the second half of Redbird Arena. 36-28, ISU with the advantage. There's Callis in a triple team that time. Ziggy McKee left open for 3, and he hits the jumper, showing some range tonight. It's a 36-31 ball game, 5-point lead now for the Redbirds.
McKee, not much of a three-point threat. He's 6 out of 30 for 20% on the season, but was able to knock that one down with very little trouble.
Very surprising that he would put that up, as you say, Matt. That's only his 7th three-point make of the season.
And Wichita State doesn't really shoot a very good percentage from there, but that doesn't make them hesitate to shoot it up.
Miller, the rebound of the Dan Muller miss. Yeah, for a team, Wichita State just shooting 25% from the three-point arch, but they've been successful tonight. And that might be a difference in the game. It was interesting that you mentioned the halftime statistics, the rebounding disparity when the Redbirds had out-rebounded Wichita State as Miller hits the jumper.
See that soft touch again. Yeah. Boy, that shot looked long, but he caught the backside of the iron, the front side, east, west, north, south, and it still dropped down.
Illinois State had a 17 rebound advantage on Thursday night against Drake, but still lost the game. So sometimes the rebounding statistics can be a little deceiving. However, that's typically a good indicator. When you out-rebound somebody, you typically win the ball game.
Yeah, that's one of the big factors in any victory for a team is how well they rebound. But Illinois State needs to get something done here offensively.
36-33. The Redbirds have yet to score a point here in the second half. And Jamar Smiley's pass is picked off by Darren Miller. Wichita State a chance to close to within 1 here.
Not a very good decision that time by Jamar. Tried to pull the defenders away from either Kenny Wright or Rob Gibbons, and it was too compacted in the lane.
Darren Miller ran out of real estate, out of bounds. ISU the basketball.
Illinois State doing a better job defensively of getting down to the guy on the block as soon as he gets the ball. I'm sure that's something that Kevin Stallings pointed out at halftime to his team.
And the Redbirds walk the ball up. We've played 2 minutes here into the second half. The Redbirds still looking for their first basket. They've been outscored 5-0. And it's a 3-point lead, 36-33. Backdoor play, no good as Kenny Wright can't finish it. Here comes Wichita State again with a chance to close to within 1 or perhaps tie the game with a 3. Here's that 3, Ryan Hurst. Missed it off the back of the iron, and Rob Gibbons the rebound.
Had a good look there in transition. Hurst got set for the shot and just wasn't able to knock it down.
On the other end, a 3-ball from Muller goes home.
Dan had a good look at the basket that time, and once again, he kept that left hand on the ball, and nice smooth shot and was able to hit the 3.
39-33, the Redbirds needed that basket. Muller, the first player in double figures tonight. He's got 12 for the Redbirds.
2 out of 6 from three-point range for Dan, so he's really not hesitating to light it up from out there.
Callis the skip pass to Hurst, whose entry pass to Miller's knocked out of bounds by Rob Gibbons. In fact, Darren Miller was looking for a foul call.
I tell you, Rob was fortunate not to come up with a foul on that play. It looked like he might have been on the back of Miller's. They were trying to get the ball into him on the block.
In case you weren't with us at the beginning of the broadcast, Rob Gibbons earning a start tonight. And now he's starting the second half as well. 39-33. We've played 3 minutes now. Redbirds with a 6-point lead. And a jumper again from McKee, who's playing well tonight.
Yeah, that time Jamar really got hung up on the screen set by Darren Miller out on the perimeter, and McKee was able to get a good look at the basket.
Ziggy McKee with 9 points, and he's averaging 7.9, so he's already over his average just 3 minutes into the second half.
Yeah, really not much of an offensive-minded player as far as scoring-wise. Usually sets the table for everyone else, but with kind of a limited arsenal out there for Wichita State, he's looking to score a little bit more for him tonight.
Yeah, he's averaging just over 5 assists a game. Now Rico Hill, who's checked into the ball game. Dan Muller for another 3. Missed it that time. Hill for the rebound. Missed the fadeaway. Gets the rebound, though. Stayed in bounds. Stepped in. Missed the shot that time. Callis the rebound. A lot of pushing and shoving going down low between Leroy Watkins and Larry Callis. Callis comes up with the ball.
Really soft going up with both those shots that time by Rico Hill. Kind of went up with one hand at each time, but did a good job going after the ball.
Marvin Hill to miss that time. Back in transition now. Jamar Smiley looking for some help. Hill goes around Miller. Kicks out to Trotter. Missed the jumper. Muller with the rebound. John Clyden had a hold of his shirt on that play.
Yeah, you can see Dan's out there playing with his shirt untucked, so something happened to cause that.
And Mo Trotter just drew a foul there as the Redbirds moved the ball well around the perimeter, and then Jamar Smiley found an open Trotter on the baseline.
I tell you, Mo did a good job of staying active that time without the ball, and that's probably one of his best traits out there, and why he leads his team in scoring is because when he doesn't have the ball, he makes his defender work, and that time he was able to draw the foul and go to the line for 2.
You see Darren Miller takes a seat on the bench. Carter Arnett replaces him. And Mo Trotter to the free throw line, where he has made 76% of his free throws.
I tell you, when your shot's off, every little part of your game is off. And Mo's struggled in the Drake game. He has somewhat in this game, 3 out of 9 from the field. And just comes up short on that first free throw.
5-point ISU lead, and the Redbirds show some backcourt pressure. This is what caused the Shockers some problems late in the first half. But Wichita State breaks it easily.
Illinois State going to somewhat of a 2-3 matchup zone here, and throw a little bit of a change at Wichita's. They've hit some shots here in the early going in the second half.
Now on the baseline, Marvin Hill missed it again. Boy, he's off tonight. But Clyden there for the rebound, had it slip out of his hands, and Mo Trotter hangs onto the ball. So there's a turnover, and the Redbirds have a chance to cash in. Redbirds with the basketball and a 5-point lead.
That's a good job that time by Jamar, trying to set Dan up for the shot, and drew the defense over. And
an offensive foul this time on Muller. Dan Muller called for an illegal pick that time as his screen wasn't set. It's 40-35 in favor of the Redbirds. An official's timeout on the floor. 40-35. The Redbirds with a 5-point lead. 15-19 to play here in regulation at Redbird Arena. Have that lead. Dan Muller with 12 points.
Yeah, good job again by Jamar. He really sets the table for the offense out there. Dan gets a good look because Jamar does a good job drawing the defender in the lane so he can get an open shot.
Muller with 12 and Darren Miller with 10 for Wichita State, the 2 players in double figures tonight. And again, the Redbirds show some backcourt pressure, but Ziggy McKee brings the ball up for Wichita State as the Shockers try to claw themselves back into this ball game. They've hung around pretty much all night. It's a 5-point Redbird lead. Here's Carter Arnett. Misses the shot, but look at Larry Callis up. Hello.
There's a poster shot there, and Callis came in and did a little hang job on the rim, but good leaping ability by Callis out there.
The man can jump. There's no question about that. It's a 3-point lead now after that vicious dunk by the Shocker senior. Redbirds still trying to get organized offensively here. Here's Dan Muller for 3 again. He's got the stroke tonight.
Boy, Dan's really towing the line out there. That's 7 3-point attempts for him, or 8 actually in this game. 3 out of 8 for Dan from 3-point range.
15 points. Back to a 6-point lead now, 43-37 as we approach the 14-minute mark here of the second half. The Redbirds owning the 6-point lead. McKee through the defense, missed the jumper off the glass. High up for the rebound, though he got a piece of it, kept it alive, and Carter Arnett gets it back out to him. The Shockers have lost 4 straight. Their longest losing streak of the season is 5 games. They're trying to avoid tying that tonight. And a foul away from the ball on Rico Hill.
I believe that's going to be on Watkins.
Watkins,
He was
yeah.
trying to defend Callis on the block. Callis was doing a good job of posting strong underneath, and Leroy tries to get around him to deny the pass into the block, and that time the official underneath made the call, and out of bounds to Wichita.
Kyle Cartmill into the ballgame for Illinois State, replacing Maurice Trotter. Mo just hasn't developed the stroke tonight. 13:45 to play here in regulation. ISU with a 43-37 lead over the Wichita State Shockers. I'm glad you're alongside here on WMBD tonight. Hill's shot. Muller got a piece of it, but he went right back and picked up the loose garbage and laid it in.
Everybody just kind of stood and watched as the ball was going to the basket. Didn't really see that it was going to fall short. The only one that knew it was Hill.
And that time Hill's pass down to Leroy Watkins was picked off by Callis. Back comes Wichita State now, trying to cut into that 4-point Redbird lead. There's McKee. He missed the shot from in close. Went around the defense but couldn't complete the play. Now Smiley. Kyle Cartmill for 3, missed the shot. Larry Callis up high for the rebound. He's been all over the backboards tonight. There's a picked off pass. It's Jamar Smiley back again for the Redbirds. 2-on-2. And Ziggy McKee takes it right back away from him. The officials are letting him play.
And Jamar wanted the foul that time too, as he thought McKee really bumped into him as he was going for the steal. And 2 quick guards both going after it there.
Under 13 minutes to play. 4-point Redbird lead.
Wichita State really gaining some confidence now, staying in the ball game.
That's out of Larry Callis's range. He missed the shot. Rico Hill the rebound. Redbirds need a basket here to get things going. There's Rico Hill with the soft touch. Missed the jumper, but he'll go to the free throw line as he drew the foul on Carter Arnett.
Good entry pass that time by Muller, and a good job by Rico Hill posting up on the block. You see Rico keeps Arnett behind him, and the ball just kind of slips out of his hands as he's going up, and Arnett catches him on the arm. He'll go to the free throw line for 2.
We've got all kinds of substitutions now. Wichita State, John Clyden, Carter Arnett, and Marvin Hill leave the game. Greg Bryant is in the game. Chad Williams and James Bunch, the 3 that replaced the trio that left the game. Steve Hansel now in the ballgame for Illinois State as well, as he replaces Leroy Watkins. So Kevin Stallings going with a smaller lineup out here now.
Well, Kevin's not really very happy with the way his team's playing right now. They're really playing flat-footed on some of the rebounds. They're really just kind of reaching for the ball as opposed to going after it. And that's kind of the reason why he took Mo Trotter out of the game. And he really expects more out of a senior in this game.
Hill, the freshman forward from Chicago, a 55% free thrower. He makes both of them. Now Kenny Wright will also come into the ball game as he replaces Rico Hill. And again, the full court pressure will be applied by Illinois State. The Redbirds have a 6-point lead at 45-39. They try to break Ziggy McKee free all the way down, and Steve Hansel back there to pick off the pass, and he bounced it off Chad Williams' foot out of bounds. No, they're going to say it's off Steve Hansel's foot. So Chad Williams hustled down the floor, and because of his hustle, the Shockers are going to get the ball back.
That was good athletic play, first of all, by Steve Hansel to get down the floor and get a hand on the ball, but just tried to dribble out of it instead of just realizing where the defenders were. And Williams, as you said, did a good job hustling back as well and causing the turnover that time by Hansel.
Yeah, that's one way to break a press, throw it down the floor and have it bounce off the defender's foot. And here's another steal. Kyle Cartmill, like a flash of lightning, all the way and laid it in. Nicely done by Kyle Cartmill.
Good anticipation that time by Kyle. Saw that McKee was going to make a cross-court pass and just ran right through the play and came up with the ball and went the other way for 2.
47-39, 8-point Redbird lead, as we're under 12 minutes to play here in the second half. Greg Bryant looked inside, but then tried to get it outside Larry Callis, and that was a misplay there as the Redbirds come up with the basketball. So 3 quick turnovers. Kyle Cartmill feeling it, hits the 3 from the outside. So he's made a big steal and now hit a big tray. And the Redbird lead is 11, the largest of the game, at 50-39.
I'll tell you what a situation to be in.
Back at Redbird Arena, a 22nd timeout that time from Scott Thompson. 11-point lead for the Redbirds as Thompson kind of had to calm the troops down as things were getting out of control for the Shockers, having a hard time handling that full court pressure. Larry Callis to James Bunch, had the ball stripped out of bounds, and it's off of Bunch. Yeah. How do you like that?
Kenny Wright did a good job reaching in and just knocked it right off of Bunch and out of bounds to the Redbirds.
And now we have an officials timeout after the 14th turnover for the Shockers. 11-point lead for the Redbirds. At Redbird Arena, Illinois State with its largest lead of the game, 11 points, 50-39. And the guy coming off the bench providing a big-time spark, Kyle Cartmill, man.
Yeah, big steal first of all. And then, as we talked about going into the 22nd timeout, Jamar Smiley just setting him up at the right place at the right time. And Kyle comes down in the break and knocks down the 3. Huge shot by the freshman.
So he comes up with a big steal, takes it the length of the floor for a layup. And then on the next possession, after another Wichita State turnover, he cashes in with the 3. 14 turnovers on the night for Wichita State, and 4 of the last 5 trips down the floor, the Shockers have turned the ball over. Some of that credit has to go to Illinois State, though, because the Redbirds have applied a suffocating full-court pressure that has really bothered Wichita State.
Yeah, they've been able to open up a little 11-point lead here right now, and Cartmill in the game has done a good job, and he's a player who's kind of been lost in the shuffle with the play of Steve Hansel lately, but he's a very talented player coming out of Quincy High School, a highly sought senior coming out of there, and they're expecting big things out of him in the future.
Turnovers have caused ISU some problems this year. Backdoor play to Kenny Wright, but he was fouled. Nice play from Smiley to Wright.
Boy, Jamar's just really angry at himself because he didn't get the ball up high enough.
Right.
Gets the ball a little too low. Kenny goes up, catches it on the way up, actually, as opposed to above the rim where they like to have it. Gets fouled on the play by Callis.
That is a set play that the Redbirds really enjoy running. That backdoor, they get a pick and free up one of the forwards for a dunk.
Yeah, it's usually on and out of bounds play too. They don't really run it out of their set offense too much, other than the fact they do it when coming out of a timeout.
This is not one of Kenny's favorite spots on the floor, the free throw line, where he's just a 57% free thrower. However, he did make the first and made the second. So the Redbirds now with a 52-39 advantage. 13 points. Larry Callis has got to call timeout. Again, that Redbird pressure.
Had Kyle Cartmill playing the point guard position where he's a little unaccustomed to that position. So I think the addition to Steve to this team has really cut down on those turnovers.
Smiley has done a great job in running the offense the last couple of weeks. In fact, now he's up to number 16 in the country in assists, 16th nationally in assists, and he's on pace, at his current pace, to finish his career at ISU with about 400 career assists, and that would put him 5th all-time. So Jamar doing a nice job running the show offensively and distributing the basketball. And again, the full court pressure from the Redbirds. We'll see if the Shockers can break this. Larry Callis is not the guy you want to have the ball. Here's the man, Ziggy McKee, but he's lost the dribble now. He gets it right back, goes through the defense. Nicely done, but he's lost the ball, and Jamar Smiley tied him up. So Jamar reached right in, caused some trouble, and the Redbirds get the ball right back, make it 5 of the last 6 times now down the floor that Wichita State's turned it over.
Boy, what a quick lineup they have out there now, too, with Cartmill. They've got Muller, Hansel. You see Cartmill reaching in from behind, knocking Ziggy McKee off balance just for a moment. Steve Hansel reaching in, and then finally Jamar reaching in to tie him up.
This is the knockout blow that the Redbirds have really lacked recently, and that's putting a team away when you've got them down by such a large margin, 52-39. It's a 13-point lead. Muller missed the 3. Back come the Shockers.
Yeah, again, Dan really took his left hand off it a little early that time and shot it virtually one-handed. That's the shots he's missed tonight.
That's something that you have pointed out in prior telecasts, Matt, that Dan has a way of having one hand more dominant than the other, and when he doesn't use that other hand to set himself up, he typically misses a shot. This is going to be a foul this time on Illinois State.
Yeah, Kenny Wright that time a little aggressive on the block. As Miller got the ball, he was looking opposite for Larry Callis, as both Kenny Wright and Dan Muller were double teaming Miller down on the block. As you can see, Miller tries to make the pass, and Kenny Wright just comes down with the arms. It's an easy call by the official.
So Marvin Hill to trigger. Into Ryan Hurst for 3. That's a big basket for the Shockers. They needed something because they were just all befuddled on offense there, but they score a 3 off Ryan Hurst. We've hit the 10-minute mark. We're halfway home through the second half. It's 52-42. Redbirds with a 10-point lead. Again, the backdoor play from Smiley doesn't work as his pass to Dan Muller doesn't hit home.
I tell you, that's the lob attempt that Illinois State has, and 3 out of the 4 haven't been there. So just a poor judgment that time by Jamar trying to throw that ball in.
Darren Miller on the low block gets it home. He's tough down low. He has a way of finding his way to the basket. He did it again. He's got 12 points. Wichita State's rattled off 5 consecutive points, and it's 52-44 Redbirds.
Good job by Wichita State at this point trying to counter the Illinois State run.
Kyle Cartmill for 3. Boy, has he played big off the bench.
Good confidence by the freshman. You know, as we touched on, hadn't played a whole lot recently, but really stepping up here in the second half.
Speaking of freshmen, Marvin Hill missed the shot off the bottom of the backboard off Kenny Wright's hand, and Wichita State gets the ball.
Yeah, that time really nobody reacted to the first time the ball came off the rim. I think they anticipated hitting the rim once more, and Kenny got a hand on it, just knocked it against the support underneath the basket. 8
points now for Kyle Cartmill, all of them here in the second half. So the freshman from Quincy cashing in on his playing time tonight. As we approach the 9-minute mark, 9 minutes left to play here in the second half. The Redbirds with an 11-point lead at 55-44. Redbirds showing some zone, and it's Hill down low. Nicely done as he found a seam in the defense and scored.
Good movement that time by Wichita State. Every time they passed the ball, Illinois State was right there flying at the shot. Finally got in a good position for Hill to knock down the 2.
It's been a slow night for Marvin Hill. He's just 3 out of 13 from the floor for 6 points. There's a guy who's averaging 10.2 points a night. The Shockers. Cartmill wanted another crack at a 3-ball, but he lost control of it and had to give it up.
He got a little anxious that time as the ball was coming to him.
Smiley finds Muller, missed the shot, but Kenny Wright the finish.
Well, I don't know if that ball still might have been hanging around the rim, but a good job by Kenny Wright attacking the boards offensively to come up with the ball and knock it down.
Wright wasn't going to wait to see if that ball was out of the cylinder, and he dunked it home, and Steve Hansel comes up with the steal. The Redbirds in transition now as he goes around McKee, but McKee stopped him with a foul.
Again, the luxury of having Steve Hansel on the floor at the same time as Jamar Smiley. He can get the ball in defense. Good job defensively coming up with the ball, getting his hands on it, goes the other way, and letting Jamar get out on the break for a change.
You're really seeing a lineup out there as we see the dunk here from Kenny Wright. Nice.
Yeah, there on that replay, you could see the ball was actually out in front of the rim a little bit. So good play by Kenny Wright going after the ball.
This lineup you're seeing out here has Jamar Smiley, Kyle Cartmill, Steve Hansel, 3 pure guards, Dan Muller, who handles the ball pretty well, and Leroy Watkins. There's another 3 from Kyle Cartmill, the freshman from Quincy.
3 out of 4 from three-point range, really stepping it up. 11 points so far in the game.
His career high was 7, so he's having his best night as a Redbird as far as scoring is concerned, and the Redbird lead is now 14. Darren Miller, fadeaway, missed it. John Clyde, the rebound, laid it in.
Well, that was Miller's first miss in 7 attempts, but Clyde right there, the freshman, good job of going after the ball and knocking it down.
Pushing and shoving down low between Watkins and Miller. Kyle Cartmill that time drew the foul. Kyle is playing an outstanding game.
Yeah, really looking to put the pressure on Wichita State. As soon as he gets the ball, he's going to the basket, and Hers just trailing a little bit on the play, fouls him from behind. You see Kyle very offensively minded in this game, and Hers tries to stop him with his arms, and the official's right on top of the play.
Under 7.5 here to play in the second half. 12-point lead. That's a 3-ball miss that time by Kyle Cartmill.
That's the most open he's been doing this game, and misses the open shot.
You figure he's feeling it. He may as well shoot it. Ziggy McKee. Oh, air ball. Missed it.
That might have touched the very front of the rim, but that was it.
That's typical of his shooting again from 3-point range. There's the back door, and again it doesn't work. Kyle Cartmill to Kenny Wright, or to Leroy Watkins. It was a better pass this time, but Watkins couldn't finish.
Yeah, it was really there that time. Good job by Kyle getting it up high for Leroy to handle. Just wasn't able to put it down.
Started to say McKee's miss on that 3 was more typical of his shooting from out there, because he's only 7 of 31, now 8 of 32 this season from 3-point range. And that time Darren Miller was hammered. He's going to go to the free throw line.
Yeah, a little aggressive block that time by Leroy Watkins. The official usually makes a call if a player comes down on the ball. Good job by Ziggy McKee hitting Miller down on the block, where he's been very effective in this game. And you can see Leroy just a little too aggressive that time going for the block.
Wellington, Kansas is where Darren Miller calls home. 6'9", 240 pounds. 73% free thrower, and gets the shooter's touch here.
Boy, he's had the soft touch from everywhere on the floor tonight.
He's just one of those blue-collar guys who doesn't look like he's much of a scorer, but He's got 14 tonight, and he's averaging again in double figures at 10.3, so his average is going to go up at the end of this evening. 10-point lead for the Redbirds, 60-50. Jamar Smiley for three. Back of the iron, Clyden and Watkins up high for the rebound. Leroy flips it out to Steve Hansel.
A good hustle by Leroy that time on that play.
Here's Hansel knifing through the defense. Had a shot partially blocked. He had to alter it. May have got a piece of it. Darren Miller saves to McKee now. He's got Clyden ahead of him if he sees him. All the way down. Flipped it up. Drew the foul on Dan Muller.
Boy, McKee really realized he had no chance of making the basket on that play and just jumped into Dan and drew the foul. But a good job recognizing it that time by the junior. You see coming down, McKee just jumps into Dan basically, loses his balance a little bit, and just kind of throws the ball at the basket haphazardly just to make sure he gets to the line for two.
Steve Hansel to the bench now. He's being replaced by Maurice Trotter. Melvin McKee to the free throw line where he's shooting 62%. Boy, the Shockers just won't go away. It would have been easy for them to throw in the towel when they were down 14 and Kyle Cartmill sitting shots from all over the floor. But if McKee makes this free throw, it's back to an 8-point game. He missed. Miller followed. Nobody checked out. And Darren Miller has 16 points now to lead all scorers.
Miller just anticipated the shot that time by McKee a little bit quicker than Leroy Watkins. And all it took was a little first step to get inside the lane.
So the missed free throw actually benefits the Shocker cause. They've closed it to within 7 now. It's 60-53, under 6 minutes to play. Cartmill for three, missed it badly. There's Watkins. Nicely done by Leroy Watkins.
Good strong move that time by Leroy. Gets the ball down low, even with McKee grabbing for it. Does a good job being strong with it and going up.
Ryan Hirsch tries to answer with a three, missed the shot. Dan Muller there for the rebound, and the Redbirds back in transition now. Nice bounce pass down to Leroy Watkins, missed the shot, couldn't complete it. No foul called. Kevin Stallings wanted that.
It almost looked like Leroy got tripped on the play and an incidental contact, and the official just decided not to make the call.
62-53. The Redbird lead is 9 as we approach the 5-minute mark here. Entry pass is picked off, but the ball rolled out of bounds. Leroy Watkins got a hand on it. In fact, both he and Mo Trotter were there. But Watkins, who's coming up limping, couldn't hang on to the basketball.
Good job by both players that time going after it. Leroy had position that time on Callis on the block. You see Hurst tries to hit him going in. Mo comes up from behind, just kind of, I think he gets Leroy on the calf that time, and he comes up hobbling a little bit, and Kenny Wright will come in for him.
Both Redbirds around the ball on that play map, but neither could come up with it.
Yeah, and that's you got to like to see that if you're Kevin Stallings. Both players going after the ball hard. Just unfortunate that neither one of them could come up with it.
Redbirds still in that zone defense now. 2 seconds on the shot clock. McKee way up and off. See, when you're forced to shoot and you're not used to shooting three-point shots, it was just 4 seconds on the shot clock when they inbounded the ball, and he only had 2 with his hands. That he's not comfortable shooting the ball from out there.
And that was about a 22-footer that time by McKee that went about 18 feet.
So the Redbirds with the basketball and a 9-point lead. Under 5 minutes to play here in the second half.
Wichita in their 1-3-1 zone that was very effective in the game in Wichita.
Kyle Cartmill again. Missed the shot. Mo tried to tip it out, but Larry Callis up high to get it. Yeah, the Shocker scouting report is probably saying, wait a minute, who is this guy, Kyle Cartmill? And there's a steal from Kyle, but he lost it. Back, it's on the floor, scramble for it. On the line, it's going to go to Illinois State.
Boy, great job by Kyle Cartmill. First he comes up with the ball, loses it as he's trying to get it to Jamar Smiley, stays with it, goes after it hard against McKee. See Cartmill gets a hand on the pass inside by McKee, tries to get it to Jamar breaking down. McKee does a good job reaching in. Ball's still loose. Kyle goes after it hard, out of bounds as hers on the outside line.
The assistant coaches are saying, who is number 24? We know who number 44 is. It's Dan Muller. He hits another three-point shot. He's got 4 of 10 from the three-point arch tonight. 18 for Muller.
I tell you, there again, Dan did a good job keeping that left hand up to guide it. That's such a difference for him when he shoots the ball.
And the students down low trying to cause Wichita State some more problems on offense. McKee's in trouble. 6 on the shot clock. John Clyden missed the runner. Cartmill, the rebound, and the beautiful flip ahead to a streaking Jamar Smiley.
I'll tell you, Cartmill kind of caught the rebound and in the same motion saw Smiley streaking the other way, so as soon as he came down with the ball, was able to throw it down the floor to him. Good recognition by the freshman.
Without question, his best game of the year, and the Redbird faithful on their feet. Scott Thompson is screaming for a timeout, and finally Ziggy McKee sees it. With 17 seconds left on the shot clock, all kinds of chaos in the Wichita State huddle. 3:07 to play, and the Redbirds in control. 67-53, Illinois State with the lead over Wichita State, and the Redbirds doing it on both ends of the floor here.
Yeah, you see the shot by Dan Muller, as I pointed out, does a good job keeping that left hand on it, knocking that down. He's 4 out of 10 for three-point range, 18 points for Dan to lead the Redbirds.
And they've been causing problems for the Wichita State offense on the defensive side with quick hands and creating turnovers, all kinds of pressure, like this double team right now that John Clyden is messed up in. There's 5 seconds on the shot clock, and Ziggy McKee has no idea how much time is left on the shot clock. Marvin Hill, a total bailout three, and there is a shot clock violation. Wichita State had no idea what was going on offensively on that set.
Yeah, that time the freshman Clyden, just makes a freshman mistake and didn't really pay attention to the shot clock, and Hill, another freshman, ends up with the ball and a little long on the shot.
67-53, Redbird advantage. 2 minutes and 30 seconds to play. There's a nice lob to Kenny Wright. Dan Muller, a nice lob down low to Kenny Wright for the finish.
Good high-low setup that time. Dan gets it up high, and Kenny does a good job keeping Callis on his hip and gets the ball over the top and knocks it down.
Guess who gets another steal? Kyle Cartmill ahead to Kenny Wright, but he couldn't finish.
Well, if Kenny would have just laid the ball in, he would have gone to the line for a three-point play, but tried to put a little salt in the wound for Wichita and dunked it for 2 times in a row.
Give some credit to Ziggy McKee. He's giving up about 1.5 feet.
Yeah, I tell you, it didn't take a whole lot. He just got a piece of Kenny's arm. That was enough to throw him off as he was going up for the thunder dunk.
Antonio Cooper now comes in for Kyle Cartmill, and listen to this ovation.
I'll tell you, Kevin and the rest of the team really like to see this out of Cartmill. He's a guy, as I said, who's been kind of lost in the winning streak that they put together. In fact, he really didn't play a whole lot against Wichita when we were down there. And, just a solid player and really a big lift for them off the bench tonight.
He's really been lost in the shuffle since Steve Hansel came aboard, because at the beginning of the season, Kyle had to play backup point guard to Jamar Smiley. He's not a point guard. He's a natural 2-guard, shooting guard. And when Steve Hansel came aboard, Hansel, who's so versatile, can play both positions, he's cut into some of the minutes that Kyle Cartmill has been able to get. Kenny Pearson checks in for Dan Muller after Kenny Wright made 1 out of 2 free throws. It's a 17-point Redbird lead at 70-53. It's the largest advantage of the game. And another steal. The Redbird hands have been quick on defense. 20 turnovers now the Redbird defense has caused.
That time Mo Trotter came up from behind, and Wichita State now doing a very good job of sealing the players offensively.
Entry pass that time.
Bad angle that time by Mo Trotter. Tried to knock that ball into Kenny Wright.
Carter Arnett, and that time it's Ziggy McKee throwing the ball away. 21 turnovers for the Shockers, and Scott Thompson will not be happy when he sees that statistic.
No, I'm sure he won't be surprised, though. He knows that Illinois State has really picked up the pressure defensively, and here you see Hers coming down to set a screen for Arnett, and Ziggy just throws to the corner to nobody.
That was just a miscommunication on that play. The Redbird defense and the full court pressure has been the biggest reason why the Wichita State offense has been in disarray for much of the night, at least as far as the turnovers are concerned. But that one, there was just really no excuse. We're under 2 minutes to play. 70-53. The Redbirds with a 17-point lead, looking to go to 7-2 in the league. Here's Mo Trotter. Mo just really hasn't had the offensive touch tonight. James Bunch the rebound. Here's Greg Bryant, freshman guard, running the show now for Wichita State. 3-ball Ryan Hers, front of the iron, no good. Tapped out of bounds off Mo Trotter, and Wichita State's going to get it back.
It was a good look that time by Hers from the corner, and gone a little cold here in the late going in the second half for Hers. See from the corner, he takes a shot, nobody even within 10 feet of him, and just comes up a little long.
There's an easy basket that time for Wichita State. Carter Arnett gets that one. There have been few and far between easy baskets for the Shockers tonight. As we approach the final minute of the game, 70-55. Redbirds with the lead.
That's a tough play that time. Kenneth Pearson trying to hit Trotter, cutting across the baseline. Trotter was going too fast that time and really didn't have position on the man. And just a freshman mistake that time by Kenneth Pearson.
Under a minute now to play in regulation. 15-point Redbird lead. Ryan Hers almost got away with a walk there. It looked like Chad Williams missed the outside shot. Long rebound comes to Jamar Smiley. He's got Mo Trotter on his right. He feeds Mo Trotter, who draws the foul.
Yeah, Mo's very offensively minded, so you knew as soon as he got the ball, he was going to try to go up. Did a good job getting into the defender that time at Wichita State. As you see Jamar bringing the ball down the floor, and Trotter gets into Williams' body and goes up. Even tries to knock it down by throwing it up left-handed.
Tulsa has won at Drake tonight, 79-73. So a victory tonight for the Redbirds puts Illinois State back in sole possession of first place, at least for the time being. ISU will improve to 7-2 in the league. Drake drops to 6-3. Bradley is still at 6-2. The Braves will host the same Wichita State Shockers in Peoria on Monday night. So, at least for the next 48 hours, Illinois State will be back in first place all alone. Hey, we're going to see Rick Garrett into the ball game tonight. Rick is the freshman walk-on. He walked on to the football team as a wide receiver, and he redshirted, and now he's walking on to play a little basketball too.
Yeah, Mo leaves the game with 11 points. A couple of disappointing home games for him in this week, but they've got 3 tough road games next week. They're going to expect big things out of him again.
Carter Arnett on the left baseline hits the jumper, and now there's 34 seconds left. There's about 2-second differential between the game clock and the shot clock. See if Rick Garrett tries to get into the scorebook. He's going to get a couple of free throws.
Yeah, the bench is really excited about that. You know, here's a guy who gives it all his all in practice, helps the team get better, and does a good job of getting around the defenders that time for Wichita and going up strong. Garrett was predominantly an inside scorer in high school, and averaged about 20 points a game for Centralia, and does a good job of going in strong here and going to the line.
So Kyle Cartmill comes back into the game now for Jamar Smiley as Rick Garrett gets a chance to get to the free throw line. Smiley leaves. It's the 3rd consecutive game that Jamar has had at least 7 assists in a ball game. And again, as we said, Jamar's leading the Valley with 6.5 assists per game. Well, Rick missed the first one. Maybe he'll get a nice bounce this time, get a second one. Look at where Rick wears his socks, by the way. Way, way up. You never see that anymore. There it is. He's in the scorebook, and the fans love it. Walk on from Centralia, 73-57. Illinois State, Ryan Hers. In and out. Kenny Pearson up high for the rebound. 16 seconds left. Redbirds get one more crack at scoring. Garrett to Kenny Wright. And a foul.
Redbirds keeping the pressure on. The substitutes in the game right now trying to get a little padding of the stats. And Kenny Wright, the senior, is still in the game. So good job by Garrett to hit Kenny Wright down on the block. Kenny gets bumped as he's trying to get around Arnett, and he'll go to the line for 2.
That's foul number 5 on Carter Arnett as he leaves the ball game. And Matt Schultz is going to come in for him. We talk about walk-ons. Matt Schultz is a guy who walked on last year as a junior college transfer, and he walked on the team at Wichita State, and he's going to get a crack at getting a few minutes of playing time tonight. He played earlier in the first half as Wright missed the first free throw, and now he'll finish out the final 10.4. Redbirds going to win this ball game. 14 points for Kenny Wright. Win number 13 on the season for the Redbirds. Here's Ryan Hers. Missed the shot. And a rebound by Kenny Pearson. 74-57, a 17-point verdict for the ISU Redbirds, who bounced back from a loss on Thursday by beating Wichita State tonight. 74-57 the final. 74-57, ISU a winner over Wichita State tonight at Redbird Arena. Kurt Pegler and Matt Taphorn back with you. The Redbirds trying their best to bounce back from that disappointing performance on Thursday, and they did a nice job. Couldn't quite put Wichita State away till about the 10-minute mark, but Kyle Cartmill came off the bench and gave him a big, big lift, didn't he?
Yeah, I tell you, it was all in the second half, too. Cartmill gets 11 points for him, and without him, they really struggle. Here's a play where Cartmill comes up with the rebound. Immediately, he takes a look out of the corner of his eye, sees Jamar Smiley breaking, and just dumps it right to him as he gets a wide-open breakaway. But the play by the freshman here in the second half really got Illinois State going, and they were able to come up with a victory after the disappointing loss the other night against Drake.
4 Redbirds in double figures tonight. Dan Muller with 18, Kenny Wright with 14, and then both Maurice Trotter and Kyle Cartmill with 11. Balanced scoring, which we've come accustomed to here at Illinois State. And the Redbirds with a much-needed victory, 7-2 now overall, and at least for the time being, sole possession of first place in the Valley.
That's right. A good win for them here tonight. They've got some unfinished business yet to do. They've got 3 road games this coming week, and they play at Evansville and at Creighton in league play with an interruption at Cincinnati on Friday night. So it's going to be a tough road swing for them, but, they're going to have to win those games if they're going to vie for a championship here in the Valley.
We mentioned the keys. Kyle Cartmill coming off the bench to give ISU a big boost offensively. And the full court pressure and some quick hands on defense. 21 turnovers for Wichita State, caused mainly by some nice defense by the Redbirds, and that really caused some problems.
Yeah, they really never could figure out the defensive pressure put on by ISU, and good job by all the defensive players out there. You have Dan Muller playing more of an inside role in this game because of the quickness out there by Wichita State, but that really benefited ISU because they're able to get Steve Hansel and Kyle Cartmill and Jamar Smiley on the floor at the same time.
We're going to get a chance to talk to Kyle Cartmill in a second, but here's one of his big shots again. The guy really can shoot. He missed it this time, but who was Johnny on the spot that time? Leroy Watkins.
Yeah, Leroy here does a good job of being strong with the ball and going up inside amongst some traffic and knocking it down. But, just a good team effort all around by Illinois State tonight and coming up with a win, giving them a 13-6 record overall and 7-2 in the Valley.
74-57, the final score here from Redbird Arena. We'll talk to Kyle Cartmill, the freshman from Quincy, when we come back. Redbird Arena. Back at Redbird Arena, where ISU is a 74-57 winner over Wichita State. Kurt Pegler and Matt Taphorn with you. And the man that's sitting between the two of us now, Kyle Cartmill, the freshman from Quincy. A career-high 11 points. Kyle, you came off the bench and really gave the Redbirds a much-needed lift in the second half. Talk about your play tonight.
Basically, it was just a result of having good practice yesterday. The team really had a great practice. We were real enthused. We were really settling, getting back on track. And that's all it is, just a result of having a good practice yesterday.
I tell you, Kyle, the reason for the Illinois State surge here in the second half was the defensive intensity, and you really came off the bench and picked it up, and I think the rest of the team sensed that and came along right with you. But, a couple of turnovers you get, you're able to convert into baskets, and that's because the defensive pressure created that.
Yeah, I just want to come in and bring some new energy to the team as far as defensively to get the defense going again because mainly our defense does a lot for our offense. And that was just mainly my goal, and to go in there and jumpstart the defense, and then I knew that would start our offense off, and from there on we would just play as a team and come together and just play the way we did.
Kyle, have you felt somewhat lost in the shuffle? Steve Hansel comes aboard, and he takes perhaps some of your minutes away, and of course the way Jamar and Mo have been playing. There haven't been a whole lot of minutes for a freshman to come in here. Obviously, you made the most of them tonight, but did you feel like perhaps the last couple of weeks you were a little lost in that whole shuffle?
Not really. I understood what Coach was doing because there's certain games that there's certain players we want to have in certain situations, and I really felt that he did a good job with that. And mainly, I just want to win more than anything, so it really didn't matter as much to me.
And you're stroking the 3 tonight, 4 out of 8 from three-point range. Not afraid to put it up and made them. And here's one of your 3-point shots here from the corner.
Here we get a good look from the corner, and it looked like towards the end of the second half, you were hitting the shots that the pressure was flying at you, and the shots you're wide open on. It just seems like those are a little tougher to knock down because you have too much time. So, a little change of scenery there for you, but good job there. And, the Southwest game the other night, you hit a huge shot to put the team up. So it's good seeing you get some good minutes out there.
Well, thank you.
Kyle Cartmill, nice effort tonight. 11 points at your career high. Best of luck. Thanks for getting these Redbirds going in the second half, all right?
Thank you.
7-2 now, the Redbird record after a victory. We thank Kyle Cartmill for coming over and sitting in with us tonight. The Redbirds again with 4 players in double figures, and they rolled to a 74-57 win over Wichita State. Back-to-back years now, the Redbirds have swept Wichita State with home-and-home victories, and they've done that 2 consecutive years. Again, 7-2 now. The Redbirds in sole possession of first place, at least for the time being. Wichita State goes up to play in Peoria on Monday night, where the Braves could win and also pull to 7-2 and remain tied for first with Illinois State. 74-57, the final from Redbird Arena. Thanks for being with us on our 6 telecasts here on WABD this year. For Matt Taphorn.